In the golden era of the 1980s NFL, two men stood above the rest: Joe Montana.
If I had to have one quarterback to run my football team, I have one drive, it's Joe Montana.
And Dan Marino.
He'll go down as one of the greatest of all time.
What a joy it has been to watch that.
One was calm, calculated, and unstoppable under pressure. The other, fiery, fearless, and capable of throwing lightning bolts across the field. Their rivalry wasn't born out of hate alone. It was fueled by legacy, pride, and the burning desire to be remembered as the greatest. Every time they faced each other, it wasn't just a game, it was a battle of ideologies, of style, of greatness itself. This is the story of two legends who turned competition into war. The early 1980s saw the NFL transforming into an offensive showcase, and at the heart of it were two quarterbacks destined for immortality. Joe Montana, drafted by the 49ers in 1979, was the picture of precision. He didn't throw the hardest, but his vision, calmness, and timing made him nearly untouchable. Under coach Bill Walsh, Montana mastered the West Coast offense, redefining how football was played. Then came Dan Marino.
It's Dan Marino, and it's always been Dan Marino.
In 1983, a rocket-armed rebel from Pittsburgh who shattered rookie records the moment he stepped onto the field. While Montana's strength was control, Marino's was chaos. He'd launch 50-yard bombs like it was effortless. The media painted Montana as the perfect system player.
Joe Montana, for me growing up, was my first introduction into greatness.
And Marino as the natural genius. Both were right, and both hated being compared. By 1984, the stage was set. Two quarterbacks, two philosophies, one decade to prove who truly owned the NFL. Their rivalry wasn't just about stats. It was about how they played. Montana represented discipline, teamwork, and surgical precision. Every throw looked rehearsed, every drive clinical. He was the general of an army that rarely made mistakes. Marino, on the other hand, was electricity in motion. He didn't wait for perfection, he forced it. He'd thread passes through impossible gaps, reading defenses faster than anyone alive. His release was so quick that defenders barely had time to blink. Fans were divided. Old school purists admired Montana's methodical brilliance. The new wave worshipped Marino's raw aggression. When the 49ers and Dolphins finally met in Super Bowl 19, the hype was unreal. The composed tactician versus the gunslinger. With nothing to lose, for one night, the football world would decide who was king. January 20th, 1985, Stanford Stadium. Over 84,000 fans filled the stands, and millions tuned in. This wasn't just a championship game, it was a duel for history. The Dolphins struck early. Marino, only in his second year, fired quick touchdowns that left even Montana stunned. But Joe didn't. Lynch. He read the field like a chessboard, responding with drive after drive, dissecting Miami's defense with calm, deadly precision. By the second half, the 49ers took full control. Montana finished with 331 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and the MVP trophy. Marino, despite his brilliance, was forced to watch the confetti fall for someone else. That night, Montana became a legend. Marino became the tragic hero, brilliant but beaten. And from that day forward, the two men's careers would forever be measured against each other's shadows. After that Super Bowl, the rivalry never truly ended. Marino kept putting up staggering numbers, seasons with 40-plus touchdowns, 5,000-yard campaigns, and passing records that stood for decades, but he never won a ring. Montana, on the other hand, built a dynasty. 4 Super Bowl titles, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and countless clutch moments that earned him the nickname Joe Cool. To him, it was never about stats. It was about winning, yet Marino's pride never faded. In interviews, he often hinted that rings didn't define greatness.
I'm going to say no one's better than me.
But deep down, everyone knew the missing Lombardi haunted him. The media loved it. Every comparison, every ranking reignited the debate. Fans fought in bars. Talk shows exploded with arguments. And analysts couldn't stop asking, would Marino have ruled if he played in Montana's system? Neither man ever answered, but both knew. Their names would always be spoken together. But beyond stats and trophies, their rivalry thrived in the unseen, the mind games. Montana's calm wasn't just talent, it was discipline forged through chaos. He studied defenses like a scientist, knowing exactly when to strike. Marino, meanwhile, thrived on instinct. He'd change plays at the line of scrimmage, daring defenders to guess his next move. Every time one man dominated Sunday's headlines, the other used it as fuel. Their rivalry wasn't just physical, it was psychological warfare, where pride was the real scoreboard. Influence beyond the field. Their clash didn't just shape the 1980s, it rewrote football's DNA. Kids across America copied Marino's lightning-fast release in their backyards, while coaches everywhere redesigned offenses to mirror Montana's precision. Future legends like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees grew up studying both the surgeon and the gunslinger. They proved that greatness isn't one style, it's a mindset. And through their contrast, Montana and Marino showed that there's more than one way to be immortal in the NFL. By the 1990s, time caught up. Montana's injuries piled up, and he ended his career with the Chiefs, still clutch under pressure. Marino, loyal to Miami till the end, retired in 1999 as the NFL's all-time passing leader. Years later, when asked about each other, both men smiled. Montana admitted Marino had the quickest release he'd ever seen. Marino said Montana's calmness under fire was something no stat could capture. They never became friends, but they didn't need to. Their rivalry defined an era, inspired generations, and gave fans the most beautiful contrast in football history. Montana and Marino were opposites in every way. System versus skill, calm versus chaos, precision versus power, yet together they built the legend of 1980s football. Every era needs its duel, and theirs became timeless. Today, when fans debate the greatest quarterbacks of all time, the answer still splits the room. But one thing's for sure, without Montana's perfection and Marino's fire, the NFL wouldn't be what it is. Their rivalry didn't just define the 1980s, it defined football itself. If you loved this deep dive into NFL's greatest rivalry, hit like, drop your favorite 1980s player in the comments, and subscribe for more legendary football stories. This is the rivalry that defined the 1980s NFL. See you in the next one.